Okay, welcome back to Fill in the Blanks. I appreciate you listening in, subscribing, and sharing the podcast. Now, today, I'm speaking with Mr. Victor Avila. He is a retired supervisory special agent with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Homeland Security Investigation, HSI, under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Now, listen in to this insightful conversation, and you will never look at Homeland Security the same way again. I promise you. Now, Victor has been on the show before when we were talking about the border and my trip down there, and I was so absolutely fascinated by what Victor had to say that I have been waiting selfishly to get him all by himself so we could sit down and talk about all his experience, wisdom, and insight about what's going on at the border. When he was on the show, we had other guests, and there were things to talk about and cover. And I wanted you all to myself so we could spend all of this time talking about it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Phil. Great to be here.
Tell me how long you've been involved with the border and what all you've done there. Give everybody an idea of what your history is with our border.
I'm born and raised in El Paso, Texas, and so I've been on the border most of my life. I've been in law enforcement since the age of 22. I've worked at every level of government, county level, state level, federal level as a special agent, and international as a U.S. diplomat in Mexico and Europe. So I worked in many different capacities and investigated many different crimes. When it came to Homeland Security, I want people to understand that our jurisdiction is that of anything that touches our border. Anything that has a nexus or a violation to the nexus to our border, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, has that jurisdiction to investigate it. So we're talking about the illegal movement of people and goods. A lot of times right now we're concentrating obviously on the people and illegal immigration, but let's not forget also the commercial side of it and the customs side of it, which we're trying to defend the homeland with illegal substances coming in. And I'm not just talking about drugs and fentanyl. I'm talking about pharmaceuticals. I'm talking about cotton T-shirts that are not 100% cotton that they say that they are, and many other things and goods that come through that border. There's a lot of enforcement happening every single day to protect our homeland.
What's happening on the border right now with human trafficking?
Human trafficking is a special has a special place in my heart because I'm a subject matter expert in the investigations of human trafficking and victim identification. And I never in my life had thought I would see the ability to be able to not just smuggle a human being, but traffic a child or a human being so freely. Because that's exactly what's happened under this administration. We had 400,000 unaccompanied children, and 100,000 of them have been lost through the process. Health and Human Services, giving them up to sponsors. I personally have seen them on airplanes, have flown with a child accompanied by a man that's not their father. It's some stranger, possibly an NGO member. I question them. They have no idea who the child is. They're basically delivering this child to an address in Gainesville, Florida, or anywhere throughout the U.S. And the ability to not do anything about it and sit in that airplane with them is very frustrating, to say the least, because I arrested people that did this. It's illegal to do that. Plus the exploitation of that child. We have no idea what's going to happen to them. Not only is it, there's a lot of sexual exploitation. That's the main one. But lately has become labor, a lot of forced labor. And there was a big case in Florida where 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds were working at the slaughterhouses and the chicken farms. And so human trafficking is probably at its worst, but at its best for the cartels because they're making billions of dollars in that industry.
How are they making billions of dollars? We just saw some pictures here of children coming through. These children that are coming through the wire here, these look like 8, 10-year-old, 5-year-old, obviously young. How many do you estimate are coming through that are not with family? They're not coming in here and setting up and living as a traditional family. They're not coming through with their parents.
At least 400,000 of them.
400,000?
Yes. So what happens is this child is identified as an unaccompanied child,
Right.
and is now taken from Border Patrol custody to Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services then has their job is to initially house them, take care of them, and then reunite them with a family member. But here's the problem. Those are just the ones that they know of. There's so many of them that this administration doesn't want them held in cages. They don't want them held because it doesn't look good. So they get them. The pressure is to push them out, move them out quickly. So Joe Blow in Chicago and so in LA and so in Miami says, I'm the sponsor for that child. Okay. So Health and Human Services makes the arrangements and gets that child to that household, to that apartment. The problem, Dr. Phil, is that there's no vetting of that person
Could be
that's
anybody.
receiving. Could be anybody. And the reason why we know that it happens is because we have actually arrested people in California. It's a sex offender that asked for the child. And luckily we found that one. But these children sometimes are reunited with the family. I don't want to get that wrong. Sometimes we do reunite them with their family members in the U.S. But first of all, we have 100,000 of them that are lost. We have no idea. We don't have a record of where they went.
What do you mean lost? We had a record, but then we don't know what happened to them?
We had them. We came in. We don't know where we put them. We have no idea where these children are.
That's a city full of children, 100,000. That's a city.
It's disgraceful. It's what it is. And what's more disgraceful is the conditions that these children are in. Now, if you just common sense would tell you that a child needs schooling, medical care, shelter, a lot of things that might not be provided to them.
Well, how long do they have them before they're lost?
Very quickly, maybe a few days, a week, sometimes a month, depending on how quickly they can move them out of the custody from Health and Human Services. ORR is the other office that you won't hear a lot of people talk about. Office of Refugee and Resettlement has a big role as well in moving people along, family units.
So these children we're looking at are coming through the wire. They're obviously unaccompanied. So they come through, they're unaccompanied, so they take them and put them where?
Initially, it's Border Patrol.
Right.
And then because they're a minor, then eventually they'll go to Health and Human Services, or ORR, Office of Refugee and Resettlement.
And where do they put them?
They have facilities all across the border, even inside in Houston, San Antonio.
Well, are these cages?
These are facilities. No, they're not. They're nicer facilities. A lot of them are pop-up, soft-sided facilities that you've seen. Tents, and they go in there, take care of them, feed them. They get medical care, but they don't want them there that much because political reasons or whatever. And then they ship them out. So they have a list of where is this child. A lot of these kids sometimes come with the address written on their forearm, or a piece of paper that says I'm going to Dallas, Texas, or a phone number written on there, or on the wristband that they're wearing. And that's the only indication that Health and Human Services has to go on.
So that may be a family, or it could be a cartel.
We don't know who wrote that number on there. We don't know. It could be the family. It could be for nefarious reasons that the cartel gave this 5-year-old kid, I've seen him so many times, here's an address and phone number, and that's what they use. And so that's where we're going to send this child. We have no idea who lives there.
Well, how's the cartel making billions of dollars off of these children?
Several ways. One is through the smuggling, which is different than trafficking. I want people to understand these are two different violations of law.
Okay.
There's a smuggling fee as a one-time fee to enter the United States. The cartel doesn't care if you walk up to Border Patrol as a give up and turn yourself in, or if you want to go undetected as a got away in the back of a tractor trailer. You still have to pay them the fee. So they're making thousands of dollars now. It's different prices for different nationalities. Chinese nationals, Eastern Europeans, Africans are the ones paying the most right now. I did a big Chinese smuggling case from China through Mexico to New York. This was years ago. And the Chinese nationals back then were paying $40,000 or $50,000 per head, individual.
Where are they getting that money?
They get the money.
Where?
The illegal gets the money, usually from family members. Usually it's borrowed. Usually they sell a property, but they get the money.
So it's their money.
Well, not necessarily there now.
Well, they're not getting it from the cartel.
Sometimes it's owed. No, not from the cartel. What's happening now, Dr. Phil, is that the cartel, because there's been millions of people coming through, some don't have the money to pay. So the cartel says, that's okay. That's fine. You owe me that money. And I'll give you a perfect example. I talked to, and I think I might have given you this example before, this young Nicaraguan kid owes them the $8,500 fee. And when he's in Minneapolis, which he is right now already, in Minnesota, is paying them $1,000 a month with a $300 penalty if he doesn't pay it on time. And now the cartel owns them as a indentured servitude type situation. They will use that child to do what? What is that child going to do, the young man, to pay back this debt? Well, you have to sell fentanyl, enroll in the local community college and sell meth, help us smuggle others. Down at the border right now, you have illegal smuggling illegals. You have U.S. citizens, you have grandmas, you have gangs, you have everybody coming to the border, picking up and transporting. That's the smuggling part. That's a lot of the chunk of money they're making. The trafficking is the exploitation of these victims, usually for the sex slave trade, and they're reused over and over and over. So in the drug trade, you sell a kilo of cocaine, you make this incredible profit, and once it's sold, you got to go get back and you got to go get another kilo of cocaine. Well, the victim keeps on giving. And when you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 victims seeing an average of 20 to 30 Johns a day at let's go conservative here, at $50 each, you start doing the math and that starts adding up very quickly. And that's just one victim. And so these organizations have learned, by the way, the cartels and the human traffickers and human smugglers were separate. There were different entities. Not anymore. The cartels have moved in and control all of it now. So even when I investigated, there was a human smuggler, there was a human trafficker. They really didn't dabble with the cartels. Well, now it's the cartel owns all that because they realize the amount of money that these humans are paying. And there's a video that I shot in El Paso. It's just a reminder of the amounts of people here, a lot of single adult males. So we talk about the children and we talk about the family units, but the majority, the highest percentage, and I forget the percentage, forgive me, but it's something like 70% of the people that are coming are single adult males. And you can see it by these videos that I myself shot. The majority of the people are coming are single adult males that require there's a lot of reasons here. You got health reasons. You have crime reasons. You have shelter. You have all these problems. We had, right when I was there's an outbreak of tuberculosis. There was an outbreak of measles. There was an outbreak of lice. And all of these health issues are showing up in small communities in Kentucky, North Carolina, and all around the nation. And, well, your child goes to that school, and all of a sudden they'll put a person next to your child. And for some reason now, in a lot of communities, they will, for some reason, prioritize the undocumented person over the U.S. citizen. We've seen this happen in New York. It's happened in El Paso. They will kick out the Americans to make room for them. But I'm not against immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. And this is the part where we need to establish some law and order here. The individuals now, and I'm going to use Venezuela as a perfect example. Venezuela, I saw the other day.
Where is this we're looking at?
El Paso, Texas, downtown. Mostly Venezuelans, Central Americans, Colombians, South Americans.
You're saying a lot of these paid a fee
Oh, they all did.
to be smuggled.
They all did. 100%.
And it doesn't matter whether they turned themselves into a border agent or they were a getaway. They paid the money to get to the border.
They gave the money to come in.
And how much are they paying to get to the border?
Right now, the Mexican, other than, or we'll call it OTM, Central American, about $8,500.
Mm-hmm.
Then you talk about Chinese nationals, you're in the tens of thousands. Africans, tens of thousands. Eastern Europeans, tens of thousands. The SIAs, special interest aliens, coming from special interest countries, which is something that I investigated. Right before I got shot, I was doing a big Afghan smuggling, taking down an Afghan smuggling organization using Mexico. You see, you and I know this, and so do the cartels, and so do the criminal organizations, and so do the terrorists. They know that being in Mexico is as good as being in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so they just need to get to Mexico.
You just have to walk across the river, turn yourself in.
That's it. And so we don't know the criminal history of this person. We don't know the intention or the agenda that they have, because there's a questionnaire out there, Dr. Phil, of a border agent. There's hundreds of questions that could and should be asked that are not being asked. And a lot of questions are very, very straightforward. Are you a member of any kind of, political group? Are you literally a member of a terrorist organization? All these types of questions that are not being asked.
Well, of course, they're not going to tell the truth.
They're not, because they're being processed so quickly. Even when, because I talk to border agents all the time, even when the agent suspects, they have this individual in front of them. I'll give you an example in El Paso. There's this guy all tatted up. His eyes were tattooed. His pupils were black. And the border agent was telling me, like, I don't want to admit this guy, even though he put his fingerprints down and he was negative. He was clear of any criminal history in our databases, but he just didn't look right.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know you could tattoo your.
He can't. He says he looks scary. I need to make some phone calls to these consulates. I need to make other database. Well, that takes a lot of time. No, move them through. I had to admit them. These individuals are showing up and proving what myself, Jason Jones, Derek Moss, what we've been saying for years, is that a lot of them are committing crimes because they have been released from prisons in Venezuela. They're coming with criminal histories. They're beating up police officers. They're killing our Americans. They're raping our kids. They're doing all these horrific things, and it doesn't surprise us. I'm the first one to tell you, not everybody that comes to this country commits additional crimes, but we have a high percentage of them that do. Venezuela, by the way, has the lowest murder rate ever right now. What does that tell you?
Yeah, all the murderers are gone.
They're here.
Yeah. So is it true that they're emptying prisons? I mean, is this not Cuba all over again?
This is not a hearsay. There was a memo by DHS last year admitting that, in fact, they knew that Venezuela's government was emptying their prison and rehabilitation centers or drug centers, releasing them on purpose because they knew with instructions to make, if you were going to get out, you're going to make your way to the U.S. That is not. We're not making that up. That's true. It was reported on, and DHS admitted that was happening. And in fact, it has. El Tren de Aragua is heavily present in our country now.
Okay, so you're telling me that DHS has acknowledged that Venezuela, for example, is emptying their prisons and their rehabilitation centers with the understanding you get out if you leave here and go to the United States?
Yes.
And DHS has, in writing, said, we know that's happening. We know they're coming here. We're processing them in and have no idea where they are.
Correct.
How many people are we talking about?
Millions. And just Venezuela alone.
We're talking about, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had estimated how many people have come across the border.
My estimation, the official number, I think, is about 10 million.
Yeah, it's about 11 million. Yeah, that's the official.
But my personal opinion, I think we're about 15 to 18 million.